Hey folks, welcome to another episode of Cutter One. I am your host, Jay, just Jay, your resident troublemaker, your resident culture warrior. So let's get right into it. So I saw this article from the other day and I wanted to sort of speak on it because it's something that I think we're all interested in. So it says, as some of you may know, new rumor claims Prime Video to completely reboot The Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power after creatively bankrupt first season. A new rumor, in English, what I meant was, a new rumor claims that Prime Video will be completely rebooting The Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power, following the creatively bankrupt first season, which chose to throw out Tolkien and replace it with intersectional feminism. The new rumor comes from YouTuber Gary Buechler of Nerdrotic, who says, "We have heard the rumors from my man Chris Gore that the showrunners might end up being Fall Guys, and we might have to wait till after the award season to see if that actually happens." He then adds, "I also heard that they're going to go for a full-on reboot with this series and try to pretend that the last 2 months didn't happen. Roll out the publicity, maybe roll out some more influencers and try to get people to binge The Rings of Power. Good luck." Buechler went on to state, and to add to that, what if I told you that the Rings of Power did not start this way? It was never meant to be a woke intersectional disaster. It didn't have not Gandalf. It didn't have repurposed hobbits. It didn't have Halbrand as Sauron, and it didn't have warrior Galadriel. What if I told you this show was usurped by people like Lindsay Weber and Jennifer Salke? And what if I told you that the fan attacks came from the top? More on that in my next Rings of Power video, he teased. Bolstering the rumor he heard that Prime Video will reboot the series moving forward, he speculated the show will see massive viewer fall off in the second season. Buechler theorized, I'm just going to say Nerdrotic theorized, "It didn't need to be this way. I think we'd all love to be rooting for a good Lord of the Rings show, that is true. But that is not what this is. This is an Amazon product, and it has very little chance of succeeding with the same people after 2 years. I'm guessing you're going to lose half of your audience in the first episode of season 2, and it's just going to go down from there," he speculated. "I'm guessing you're going to end up a lot like Westworld, which just so happens to be another bad reboot product that just got canceled, except the big difference is Westworld had a good first season. You might have had a chance if you just had a normal bad show and didn't attack the fans, but you did, and now you're going to suffer the consequences of the perfect failure, because that's what this is. One thing Amazon did right was everything wrong," he concluded. Buechler's claim of rebooting the series moving forward echoes what Film Threat founder and industry insider Chris Gore said during an appearance on Midnight's Edge in the morning. Gore stated, "I heard from someone who has a connect at Amazon that, if you want to know, that effectively they're going to be retooling, and that J.D. Payne and Patrick McKay are more than likely, they're not going to be publicly fired, but their role will be reduced. Potentially just remaining in the writer's room," he added, "but my understanding is they're looking for more experienced showrunners." He then claimed, "They're well aware of the problems. There's sort of like publicly what they say and what they're actually doing behind the scenes. And what they're doing behind the scenes is they're freaking out that this was more of a failure than could have been anticipated. I think, one, the quality of the show that is the number one. The quality of the show, that is the number one thing," he opined. "The fact that it's like, why am I still watching this? This is sleep-inducing. The second thing is the total rejection from fans. I can't believe that there has to be very few people that remain that still like it," unquote. And thirdly, the direct competition from House of the Dragon, he concluded. The strategy of them announcing that they would have it come out at the same time and even like pre-seed and post-seed, so to speak. So House of the Dragon started earlier and House of the Dragon ended later. Following Gore's claims, a source contacted Bounding Into Comics and informed us that Prime Video plans on keeping Payne and McKay this season because they want Emmy Awards. The source added, "Sidelining them would spike any consideration in all categories." Payne and Decay have made no sign that they are getting sidelined. Just ahead of the release of the season finale, Payne revealed they plan to focus on Sauron for season 2. He told The Hollywood Reporter, "Season 1 opens with, who is Galadriel? Where did she come from? What did she suffer? Why is she driven? We're doing the same thing with Sauron in season 2. We'll fill in all the missing pieces." McKay added, "Sauron can now just be Sauron, like Tony Soprano or Walter White. He's evil, but complexly evil. We felt like if we did that in season 1, he'd overshadow everything else. So the first season is like Batman Begins, and The Dark Knight is the next movie, with Sauron maneuvering out in the open. We're really excited. Season 2 has a canonical story. There may well be viewers who are like, this is the story we were hoping to get in season 1. In season 2, we're giving it to them." Again, that is roughly my take on what they just said. Speaking to Vulture, following the season finale, the two showrunners also indicated they learned significant lessons from season 1 that they will apply to the second season. Payne revealed, "On a show, we have a lot of time to get to know the characters, to go deeper into mythology and lore. Sometimes scenes we shot didn't even make it into the final edit. When you put them up against the larger stakes of the world, they didn't quite punch their weight. Even with small character scenes, you need to have a sense of how it connects to the stakes and will contribute to the whole." Then why did you have the Harfoots? Because literally, and anybody who watched the show knows, you could take them completely out of the show. Edit out every scene with the Harfoots, makes no difference to the show. It doesn't change anything. So I would say, how do they connect to the larger stakes? McKay also detailed, "In Middle-earth, everything at the end of the day is about the fate of Middle-earth. It wants to tie back to the battle of good and evil and the temptation of power. It's a high bar for anything to clear to deserve a spot in the story. Starting this journey 5 years ago, JD and I had an idea of what that bar was. Having gone through the process, we have more specificity of what really feels like Middle-earth and what doesn't. Hopefully, we have raised the bar for the show going into season 2. What do you make of this latest rumor? Blah, 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 blah." All right, I'm going to give you my take now. I do think you're going to see these two winners sidelined to the writer's room. And I don't necessarily think that's going to help much of anything, but it depends on who replaces them as the showrunners. And I don't think you're going to see that in season 2. I think, and this is where you guys can start quoting me later on down the road. We'll see if I'm right or not. I think, like has been mentioned in previous articles where these guys have given interviews, season 2's already in the bag. They've begun filming it, which means by and large, the way films work, they've already gone through multiple drafts of the script and revisions to get to this point. So if they've already started filming season 2, it's safe to say, although nothing is ever 100%, but it's safe to say that their scripts are locked in. Okay. Now, what does that mean? That means that, as they sort of indicated in previous interviews, they heard the fan feedback, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to change anything. It doesn't mean that they are changing anything to accommodate for what the fans have said. So, having said that, do I think there's going to be an improvement with season 2? Probably not. I think quality-wise, you will get something similar to what we had with season 1, which will be, there will be some good visual effects, and some of the visuals will be impressive. I think story-wise, we're going to get more of the same in terms of the bad writing and clunky stories that don't make a lot of sense. You know, you have people traveling halfway across the map, in the course of a day to arrive just in time. But then when they're going home the exact same way, it's going to take them 6 weeks. I think we're going to get more of that. Now, in terms of the canonical, here's what I think. Okay, and this is where you guys can really hold my feet to the fire. I think what we're going to see will be the big thing in season 2 of this show. I think we're going to see in episode 1, possibly part of episode 2, we'll probably see Sauron establishing his headquarters in Mordor. Okay? I think that's what we're going to see in the first episode, possibly into the second episode. After that, I promise you, Sauron, this is what they're going to do, and this is how they're going to sell it as canonical. Sauron Halbrand is going to, I'm assuming personally, go over to Rune. He's going to go to Rune and start to try to convince them to turn to the dark side. Okay? Because conveniently enough, we also have Nori the Not Hobbit, and, not Gandalf, also going to Rune. So what they may try and play up, and this is the way I think that they're going to go about it, is they're going to go about it by trying to say he's not Gandalf. They're going to go about it by saying he's one of the blue wizards, okay? And the season will be a lot of Sauron / Halbrand trying to persuade the people of Rune and that whole area to start, falling in line with him. And Nori the Not Hobbit and not Gandalf, the Blue Wizard, will be sort of making connections with the quote-unquote resistance and the rebellion, and that'll be their sort of take on it. And this way, the showrunners get to say, well, it's kind of canonical because, Tolkien doesn't go into a lot of depth about the Blue Wizards. We just know that they went to these places and they sort of led the uprisings against Sauron's control, okay? And I think that's what they're going to play into, and they're going to try and sell that as being canonical. And it is in the most loose sense of the word, okay? But that's going to be their big thing. Their big thing is like, well, Tolkien just laid the groundwork for this, and we just built upon it. So you can't say it's not canonical because he invented the Blue Wizards. He invented them going to the east. He invented Sauron, gaining influence over the people in the east. And so we're just showing how that happened, so it's canonical. I promise you that's going to be the second season of this show, okay? And I'm saying that now. It is November 10th of 2022. You can quote me on that one. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. No big deal. But I'm telling you, I guarantee you that's where they're going with this. As far as what they're going to do with, Guy, Ladriel, and them, I don't know. You may see Elrond working more with the dwarves. I think you're going to see additional rings start to be made, and they will come up with some random reasons for them. So yeah, I think that's where they're gonna go, and that's where they're gonna try and sell it as canonical. I think what they'll do is they'll also try and hit a bunch of tentpole moments, and what I mean is like these bigger moments in the Second Age, and they'll try and just hit those marks, and sort of it'll be completely original stuff in between. But we'll see. Either way. I don't think that, and okay, in keeping with full transparency, I am a viewer, fan, whatever you want to say, of Nerdrotic, Gary. Nerdrotic, I watch his shows all the time. Actually, he's one of the people that inspired me to start this channel, because I found myself agreeing more often than not and sort of yelling at my computer screen, because I had an opinion on something he would be talking about. And 9 out of 10 times I agree with him. Not with everything, but 9 out of 10 times I agree with him. When he does the comic books thing, I'm not a comic books person, so I defer to his expertise. I just don't do comics. That's why almost none of my videos have been, superhero related, except I think I did one about She-Hulk, but that was more about like the concept of screwing with the audience. And I did one about something else, I think involving like Superman or something, like Henry Cavill, and his walking away from The Witcher. But that's not even superhero related. I've never been a big superhero guy, big MCU guy. It's not my forte, so I leave that to the experts. But I am a fan of Nerdrotics, so I agree with 9 out of 10 things that he says. So just in all transparency. But I don't think we're going to see season 1 of this rebooted. I don't think we're going to see that. I think Amazon is in too deep at this point, so they would rather cut their losses and move forward than try to swing back around and invest any more in sort of rebooting this. Again, I do think that we will see Pain and Decay sidelined to the writer's room. Don't know how I feel about that, but hopefully it could improve things. But again, that's not going to happen until after awards season, and that may not even happen until after season 2. I think season 2 is already a foregone conclusion at this point. I don't think we're going to get a lot of these changes or see a lot of them reflected in season 2, maybe season 3 and beyond. But if season 2, as has been confirmed, is already filming, I think they're beyond the point where major changes like that are going to happen. But again, I could be wrong. I follow Film Threat and Chris Gore all the time. Between Chris Gore and Nerdrotic, their information has been spot on, particularly Nerdrotic's information. He was calling Halbrand as Sauron, I think even before the show started, and he was dead on. So his sources have been proven to be spot on. So I can't say that, oh, I know better than he does. I'm just going with my gut. My gut says I think that Amazon's in too deep already with season 2, so I don't think we're going to see much of these major changes that have been talked about. I think we'll see them after season 2, but I don't know. I could be wrong, but I do think they're going to play up the Sauron's going to influence the people of Rune, and that's where not Gandalf and Nori the non-Hobbit are also going. And I think they're going to try and sell it on Tolkien created this and we just built upon it, and that's how this becomes canonical, even though those of us who know the books and know the lore are going to be like, you're still full of shit. Anyway, that's just my thoughts and my opinion. Let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. This should be a good one. What do you think they're going to do with season 2? Do you think these changes with Pain and Decay being sidelined are going to have any effect on season 2? Or do you think we're probably not going to see any of that stuff until season 3? Do you think Amazon would reboot the first season? I don't know. I think it's too much money involved that they're just like, cut your losses now and work on the remaining seasons, and we'll just chalk this one off as a loss. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. Remember, if you like the video, give it a thumbs up. If you want to share the video, that would be great. Most importantly, please subscribe if you haven't already, because it helps the video get seen by more people, helps it with the algorithm computery stuff, and it makes me feel good. It warms my heart. Other than that, if you already have subscribed, thank you very much for being here, and I will talk to you guys on the next one. Until then, peace.